Perhaps Joey will jump in. I was trying to bring up the video. Let's jump into the video. Welcome back to another edition of Dogging It. I am Molina Mike, and I am joined by none other than my main man, Mike Panozzo of Billiards Digest. And Mike, this was quite the day, and we're gonna jump right into the US Open. But before we start, hit the like button, hit the share button, get it out to your pages and your personal groups and profiles and all that fun stuff. We appreciate the support. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Good. I came back from the U.S. Open, because I had a lot to do at the office, and got back and promptly didn't do a darn thing at the office today, watching all these matches and following everything that was going on. So it's going to be fun to kind of talk about what we saw today, and then to look ahead at what the brackets. They did a redraw right away, and we get to see what's coming up on tap tomorrow as it goes to 64-player single elimination from here home. So it's one and done from here.
Yeah, let me know in the chat how the audio is coming in. Mike was coming in a little choppy there for me, and so I just want to know if you guys are picking that up. It was fine before we hit the live button, and then we hit the live button and it goes a little haywire, Mike, as you know, but it can. It says Panozzo sounds scratchy. Maybe try jumping out and jumping on in, Mike, if you can, and see if
Okay.
maybe that'll change it up some. In the meantime, yeah, it was quite the day at the US Open, man. Matchroom put on another great event, or another third day rather of a great event. Boy, my face on the big screen. Um, it was pretty awesome though. It started off with, I think, Carlo and Joven. Let me see if I can bring Mike on in here. Mike, say something to me.
I hope I sound better than I did before.
You did, and you do. Yeah, buddy. I
Do I
think
look better than I did before?
uh
Yeah, it's asking too much.
look better's, 50-50, you
It's all
know.
relative. It's all
Yeah.
relative. I look better than my relatives.
You do, buddy. Yeah. I mean, listen. You don't got any kids. You're tall, handsome man. Italian, well fed. So let's jump
Oh,
on into it, Mike. The winter side started this morning. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the match. It started off with what was a blockbuster for me, Mike, and a guy who we talked about yesterday, and Jovan Bustamante, who is picking up right where he left off, making waves in the Predator event, and he's showing his class here in the 9-ball forum, beating a world champion and a defending champion in Carlo Beato. And they're also good friends in 9-6, Mike.
yeah, that was it was a little surprising. Carlo didn't, you know, look. He looked weird to me today, Carlo. I mean, he always kind of has that, pokey, jabby kind of, stroke and
But it
working around.
works.
But it works. Today it didn't work as well. I thought he had plenty of opportunities that he didn't take advantage of. But Joven played great, and that put pressure on Carlo because Carlo knows this kid can play. Joven, rolls into the final 64 unbeaten. So good for him.
Yeah,
I wish,
without a doubt.
wish
And
I wish he had an American passport.
well, see, that was some part of the question that we had yesterday, Mike, and that was whether or not Joven was able to represent the USA in the Mosconi Cup. And there's a lot of people, myself included. I think you heard from some people out there in Atlantic City that that is of the opinion if Joven were to be available, he would be one of the five, or at least be in serious contention as far as being one of the five, just based off of the way that he's performed this year, but more importantly this week.
Yeah, this week and in the Predator event in Michigan right before this, he performed really well.
Right.
And it's funny because we've never brought up his name for 6 months leading up to this.
No.
You talk to players, talking to Carol Boys when I was out in Atlantic City, and he asked about Joey Bustamante. Could he play for the U.S. because he has an American flag by his name in the brackets? And he said because he would definitely be in my top five. I don't think that that's a possibility. I don't think he's got dual citizenship. But either way, he's playing great, and he's into the final 64 as a seeded player. So good on him. That was a good match. There were a lot of good matches today in the winners. because it was starting to get down to the nitty gritty. It was qualification round for the winners bracket. If you won, you were in that final 64, so there was a lot at stake. Um, a couple guys who didn't I didn't see going down went down. Um, Misko Fortunski, a lot of people expected a lot of him this week. He went down in that round and then got bounced out in the next round.
We're not
Uh,
we're
so
not going to talk a whole lot about our fantasy thing right now, but
yeah, we don't want to do that.
rumor has it there may have been a late substitution and a Polish player was put into a lineup and he may have gone 2 and out after that. But we'll leave it at
Yeah,
that.
that was
One
a bad substitution.
one thing before we go and jump past Jovan, I just want to say this. Listen, Mike, if you beat Carlo Biato in a US Open, you can beat anybody in a US
Yeah,
Open. So even though he's kind of been under the radar, guess what? Now you're not under the radar. Now you're making a name for yourself. This opens up possibilities when you go and have, and this is what we saw this year, Mike, when you have marquee wins, when you make deep runs in events, you start getting picked up for things. How I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Joey Tate in an invitational. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Jovan in an invitational starting next year because this is what Matchroom has shown this past year when they invite the likes of, Loho Sum and Dimitri Youngo. It was after they did well in individual events. So just something to kind of keep an eye on. But yeah, besides that, there was a ton of other matchups, Mike. I'm looking down the list here, and Jason Shaw with a 9-6 win over Robbie Capito as well.
yeah, that was a good match. It was nip and tuck early on.
Was
Um, you know, Albin Ocean going down to Shy. I don't know how to say his last name.
Chin. I
Shy.
told you, Mike. Didn't I tell you boys yesterday? Like, if there was a
Yeah.
chance for the champ to go down, this was the guy. I mean, when you talk about Taiwanese players, there's a list of guys, right? There's
Yep.
there's the there's the cream of the crop, not just in Taiwan, but on the world stage. And those guys are it. The Changs, the Ko's, the little Ko's. Who am I missing here, Mike? There's a ton of them, but he's right below. It seems like. But when I saw him go and play, yeah, there in Michigan. You saw this kid was fluid. He didn't have that quote unquote COVID rust that we've seen from a lot of guys who had came
Right.
over, going and beating or beating rather Albin Ocean the way that he did. It's kind of
Yeah.
similar
Pretty
to kind
convincingly.
of kind of similar to Jovan, Mike. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how far can this kid go? And we're gonna go into the final 64 and break down those matches. But we're just touching base so far on the
Yeah.
matchups of the day.
Couple of the other big matches were, Moritz Neuhausen from Germany. Um, I don't know if he's 20, 19 maybe. Taking down Sky Woodward pretty convincingly. Sky didn't look good. I guess he didn't feel good. But the kid ran out from every place. I mean, he didn't miss many balls. He's a really good young player. He earned every bit of that 9-5 win.
I think
And
you're
then,
back on the sketchy side, Mike, when it comes to your audio. Maybe try one more time. You were fine up until right now. Maybe just try one more time to hop out and hop back in,
drop
and we'll
out,
see if
drop back in.
yeah, because it
Okay.
just barely started getting sketchy on us one more time here. But yeah, like Mike said, there was a ton of other matchups on the winner side that were great. Moritz, this is a kid who I remember seeing him at a world championship over a year ago, where he goes and should have beaten Jason Shaw. That's whenever he first popped on the radar for me. Going and beating Sky the way that he did. I mean, the kid's a straight shooter. I know he has the same coach as Josh Filler. Let me bring in Mike here. Um, but he's as the Europeans say, he's showing his bottle going and having a signature win like that. There was some other matchups for me that were just as compelling. Let me see here. Mike's trying to come back on, so be a little patient with us. And for me, it was the Copigny and the Johan Chua match. Mike, are you there, buddy? Talk to me, my man. You can't hear me? Maybe mess with your audio settings. Let me see if we can. Mike's gonna be coming out and come back in. If we continue to have more problems, maybe we'll wrap it up and we'll try to come back on whenever we do some troubleshooting. But Johan Chua and Copigny, you want to talk about nip and tuck? That was pretty much back and forth when it came to who was up, who was down. Johan had the lead. I think he was up something like 7-6 on Co and at the table. Nerves seemed to get the better of both these guys. Cole at times looked a little choppy. Mike, say
I
something to
can't
me,
hear you,
buddy.
Mike.
You can't hear me. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna end the stream, and then we're gonna try to troubleshoot it, and then we'll come back on here in just a few minutes, and we'll pick up where we left off. So